Hello and welcome to the shop. I'm Jared and this is the Questionable Garage, and today I hope it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I know I'm going to have fun and I'm pretty sure you guys are too. Part of that light duty, don't overstress my knee recovery, we are going to build an engine. Not the engine for the Supra, not the diesel going in the Ram Charger. This right here is a running engine. You can put it on RC cars or you can put it on the table. I really am super excited about this. I've seen the Sterling kits for a very long time. They've got really nice desktop electric units, display units in an 8-cylinder, 12-cylinder, all kinds of really cool stuff. But I wanted to do one that actually ran. So while we're putting this thing together, we can talk about what makes an engine actually run. How does it work? What are all these little bits and pieces? And if you've got a younger kid or you're a younger kid yourself with a big interest in engines and learning and understanding, these things are a great way to get started in putting something together, because once you get it running, it can go into an RC car or, again, tabletop, make a whole lot of noise. It's fun. All right, it's time to talk about today's sponsor, Good Chop. Now, what do they sell? Amazing meats. You can get 100% grass-fed beef, prime USDA steaks, wild-caught salmon, chicken. With over 100 different items on their menu, you're guaranteed to be able to find something you're gonna enjoy. If you can eat it and it's meat, you're gonna be able to find it with Good Chop, and it's all USA sourced. No imported meats here, no questionable dates. Did they put a new sticker on that meat pack? Have children been poking the package all week long? You don't have to worry about that with Good Chop. And the best part is you don't get stuck with one box fits all. You can customize every order for exactly what you're looking for, or you can just click a box and get a pre-made one. If you trust them to send you good food, which you're gonna get. All of the meats are vacuum sealed and frozen at the peak of freshness, ready for you. You're gonna love it, but if for some reason you don't, reach out. They're gonna work with you to make it right and get you that money back. I don't think you're gonna use it. By the way, I need to stop and go cook some sirloins. They look too good. Now, if you're ready to go ahead and get your own Good Chop box, if you head on over to goodchop.com/YouTube and use code 50questionable, you're gonna save $50 and get free shipping on that first box. Again, goodchop.com/YouTube, use code 50questionable, or click that link down in the description box, scan that QR code that Dwayne is hiding somewhere, and that's gonna get you on your way to some great meat. Now, these little model engines are generally set up to run on the nitromethane, which is the really common style of fuel, but this, I've got an extra little special upgrade that we're gonna go over a little bit later when it's time. But before we worry about the electronics and the glow plugs and fuel tanks and all this stuff, let's unbox this thing. I guess this really nice engine stand we can move over here too, because this is what matters. It makes a lot of noise. I mean, I thought this would be kind of a quick, easy thing. We will see. So we got tools. We got shims for the valve clearance. All of the hardware for the steps. I don't know what that part is. Metal tube. Bigger metal tube. Now you've seen these with the really good assembly folks with the ASMR where it's like click, 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 pop, pop, pop. It's great to listen to and a lot of fun, but you don't get an understanding of what it takes to put one of these together. You got head gaskets. This is the flywheel. Crank pulley for a timing belt. Some bearings. Or no, those are just rollers. Nice machined aluminum valve cover. Had another follow-up on the knee this morning. Not really any significant improvement or decline. Changing up some physical therapy. These are the valve lash caps. I like that it does come with all the tools you need. My plan is to bust out my early Linus Tech Tip screwdriver. Talking about ASMR things, this really is my favorite. Oh no, my drink. Talking about ASMR things, this is like my favorite part of the screwdriver. It's so satisfying. Such a nice action. That is a crank seal, I believe. Got more seals. We got rocker trunnions, rockers. Here is your oil pan or lower crankcase. You got some timing belts. You got that part. I think this is your fan clutch. This is one we'll probably reference instructions during assembly. You don't always need to, but you know, it's worth it sometimes. Exhaust pipes, another one of those brackets. We got some more gaskets. This is, if I remember correctly, a phenolic standoff either for your exhausts or for your intake. Here's your camshaft, one of, if I remember there's two. Here is your carburetor, your engine block, cylinder head, already has the valves installed. Some of these kits you have to install the valves yourself. Here's our crankshaft, our starter motor, and your pistons. You guys ready to start putting this thing together? It's such a nice, detailed assembled kit. Again, I really appreciate that. Everything is in a nice, organized, I don't know if by step, but at least your sizes are easy to identify. Look at that. Our little baby engine. All right, so we got a small roll pin. 29, 28, and a 7. So how have you guys been doing? Been struggling a little bit, or feel like you guys are winning more than losing lately? Picture life every once in a while, those hard times that you're dealing with going through life. Picture it kind of like a tunnel. And as you are working your way through that tunnel, things start to get really, really dark, and it's kind of scary. But that just means you're almost halfway through, and then things start getting light again. So I don't know if that necessarily makes it easier or not, but I'm kind of realizing that, yeah, life will get dark. It'll be tricky. But sometimes when it starts to feel its darkest, that just means you're just about halfway through. All right, I think 29 is this bearing. So if we are to assume, based on this half, that's going to be, the bigger bearing is going to be 29, because that side has a big bearing as well. And we have a seal. So we place our roll pin down. I'm arguing at the picture. So it kind of shows you putting that roll pin in first, but I feel like we slide our bearing, seal, retainer, then our roll pin in, which is exactly what the next picture shows. Bearing looks like it can go each way. Nice close fit. You don't need to worry about heating or cooling. Oh, I'll show you this. So technically, flat side out on your seal. Once we get our lower stuff put together on here, we're going to talk crankshafts. What does a crankshaft do for an engine? So the installation says the dark side of the bearing faces outward, but what do you call the dark side? There's a roll pin that's visible, so that's going to be my outside. That's what I'm going with. So in an engine, you have your pistons that are going up and down, and you want to try to make that up and down motion a rotational force. That way it can go into your transmission. But you need to take that up and down motion of your connecting rod riding here, up and down, to then transmit into rotational. Because this rotational force is then what allows everything to be driven further down the line. Your transmission turns then, and then it's a lot of fun because then you end up into your differential, which then takes it from that rotation to the opposite rotation. But the crank, it has a really difficult job because the bearings, the rods, you have your pistons and rods punching down on it, twisting it, and as it's getting punched by the connecting rod from the piston and having its explosions, causing it to rotate, it is then having its rotational force dampened and slowed down, creating a twisting motion as it's transmitting its power into the transmission. So not only does it need to be strong in this orientation as you have your rod journals, it needs to be strong in a straight line as well. Also, it has to be balanced. This engine will spin up to 14,000 RPM. Now, granted, it's small, but 14,000 RPM is still an awful lot. So, all right, well, I'm not 100% since both sides are dark. I did my best to match it. This is the one-way clutch, so when the starter spins and then once it starts running, spins without it. Boom. Looking at that's going to be clockwise rotation. Let me look at one more picture of the fan blades. Let's see if we can come up with it based off of that. Oh wait, no. So this nut, even with its thing, spins that way, which means the engine should spin this way, because that will tighten the nut. That's my theory. I'm sticking with it. All right, now we're on to our engine block. Ooh. All right, so with a piston, you have obviously the piston, a ringland. This has just one, the wrist pin, because as that piston's in the cylinder, it doesn't want to move. But your crank is rotating, so you need to then have your rod able to rotate to follow that journal to do all of that magic. All right, where is my piston ring? Showing 54. So 54, they ship the piston ring in the cylinder liner so that way it doesn't get damaged. So if you're like me and struggling to find it, they're pre-sized and chilling. So a piston ring's job. Now normally in a typical 4-stroke engine, you're gonna have at least 3 sets. You're gonna have that top ring, you're gonna have one below it, and then you're gonna have an oil control ring, which is usually a spreader and 2 really thin rings. Their job is to keep gases where they're supposed to be and keep oil out from where it's not supposed to be. So as that crank is spinning around, oil in a wet sump is gonna splash up on the cylinder walls, keep the aluminum from galling up. But you don't want oil burning in the combustion chamber. And that's gonna create excessive pollution, blue smoke, also reduces your octane and horsepower. So you want it up there to lubricate, but you need to get it away so that way it doesn't ruin your combustion. When you have the explosion happen on the top of the piston, if you had your piston made to a perfect match of the cylinder bore, it couldn't move. So you gotta have a little bit of tolerance between the piston and your cylinder walls, plus aluminum will expand different than your engine block. So if you have that explosion happening on top and nothing to seal it, it would just leak past your piston and into your oil chamber, your crankcase system. So you have your piston rings, they're a compressible metal to keep that combustion on the top side where it's supposed to be. Now, no matter what, you're gonna get a little bit of leakage, and that's where crankcase ventilation systems come into play. They help get that air out when it needs to. So one other thing to watch, and I actually kind of like that, I'm pretty sure this is meant to be an installation tool. Your piston, you need to compress carefully. So now I could be wrong, but all signs point to this being intended to help compress and get your piston installed. Let's see. Yep. So it's a taper finish. These are some of my favorite style piston ring compressors. It's a tapered finish, so that way as things slide down, you drop in nice and easy. Boop. Boop. Come on. Nice and easy. Pull. All right. Well, it was working. Most important with a piston ring, don't force it. You don't want to crack it, because once it's in your cylinder, you can't see it. And if you force it and break it, you're going to have a bad time. Come on. I might have to go back to reset with the install tool. Because I will say this, they're just picture instructions. They're good, but they're still just kind of limited picture instructions. So there we go. Use this to gently give me a little push. Boom, into the cell. All right. Beautiful. So that's one cylinder installed. For you motorcycle guys, if you ever do a two-stroke or anything like that, that's kind of a similar process when you're putting your jugs on. So for on a crank, we have got roller bearing front and rear. We have got gear lubed in the middle, and our connecting rods will be gear lubed. This faces the rear. So this is its orientation in there. All right. Another small win. Appears the actual design of the crankcase is as such. Your crank can only go one way. I mean, that's kind of normal for big engines, but you know, this isn't a big engine. Now, this being an engine that traditionally runs on nitro or other lubed fluids or fuels, you need to apply grease. And technically, this is a service. If you do put this in your RC car or play with it some, you do have to take it apart every once in a while and freshen up your lube. Another thing I really enjoy doing, some other people have made videos putting together Legos. I always really like Legos too. I'll sit down and just hammer them out. This is like super Legos. No torque spec provided for these, so be conscious of fastener size and realize that maybe, you know, shouldn't shoot too hard on these. So these piston, or the rods, have a slight indent on it, and when the liner dropped out, it spun. So if you look by my thumb side, there's that tiniest little mark. Those need to line up, just like a real connecting rod. Oh, actually that center isn't lubed. She's just a floater. I guess one benefit of it being a two-cylinder. All right, next up, getting our oil pan ready. Okay, so the oil pan is a mirror of itself. I lied. The oil pan can only go on one way. Just test it and you will figure her out. And these are your gaskets. It looks like they want you to just stick them on down. Make sure you knock your holes out, make your life a little easier. Oh, they stayed behind. Even better. So the reason I've really wanted to do one of these, and the reason I think it's a good idea for you to maybe look at doing one with your future gearhead or just yourself, there's such a tremendous level of detail that is very close to correct for real engines. This is a running engine, so there's lots of perfect similes to assembling a normal running engine. Your gaskets, you need to be somewhat aware of tolerances, and depending on the version you get, a wide range of affordability. Like, you can get big, giant, monster crazy kits. And I'm a huge fan in getting the next generation hooked on things automotive. And again, resist the urge to just ugga the duggas. Take your time, build this by hand. Don't go crazy with your torque. You don't need to make it super tight. So one thing I always do during assembly is I'll regularly make sure things still spin. Just so that way, at one step, if it suddenly locks up, you know where to start looking. I just tightened my oil pan, lower crankcase. If it quits turning, well, there's a problem with it. So now you can see the pistons coming up and down. I'm having to hold the liners down, just not at fault or anything, it's just by design. So, crankcase done. We are on to camshaft. So we have our camshaft here. We're gonna have, oh, it all comes out of here. One more rod. We're gonna have a couple E-clips, stop it rod. I stopped my little rod from falling and my E-clip went falling. Good news is, because E-clips are magical and get lost all the time, I do have a large supply of them. Anyway. Did I take that out? No. Oh, it fell on... Look at that. It fell on the table. So, E-clips you pinch with pliers, or here you can line up. Oh, push down. Those are evil. They're incredibly effective, and that's why they're used, but they're still very evil. Okay. Doesn't want to go in. So one thing, I'm glad it was misbehaving because, again, a couple of the steps are a little wonky. It's a seal, then the bearing, then the snap ring, then the all good. We got her figured out. So we slide our seal on, then our lipped bearing, then our E-clip, which we now have to put on the pliers. Come on, all the way down. There we go. Make sure I have the right of the gears. Pretty sure 35 is the one with the groove in it. Then our T goes in. Now one thing you'll need to do is, if you look at your cam, you see that dot and then there's one tiny mark on that gear. Those go together. Doesn't make it behave any better, but they do at least go together. This is gentle. It looks aggressive. And that is definitively the right part. They're just not wanting to quite go together. One moment. Nothing like making a little pickle for yourself. So it's intended to slip over that pin. Let's keep that out of the way. See that pin? Needs to slide back on that, but and not doing that. So now that Jared's dumb, I'm going to try to undo this and file a gear a little bit. And then you put yourself in the situation I put myself in. What do we got going on here, guys? And now I can put a snap ring on it. Little force is the key, my friends. And going back to the picture, dots line up with the line. It's the only way she can go. Hey, all right, back on track. We're gonna get this thing fired up. Okay, cylinder head. She goes sliding in this way. The fun part is now you slide a seal on, then the bearing, then the snap ring. But what's really funny is the picture makes it look like you put the snap ring on and then you slide the parts on. Which I can tell you, most assuredly would not work. These might help you drive install things, I think. Those are meant to help you install things. So now you can see that camshaft turning. Once we get the rockers on, you'll see it a little bit better. But those lobes are what open your valves that let air in and out. What I think is really cool about this kit is it's set up as a 4-stroke. Most your RC cars and nitro cars, gas engines are meant to be 2-stroke engines, so you don't get a cylinder head in the traditional way. Next up, we take our engine block in this direction. Take a cylinder head gasket. We got a spare. Set that there. Take our engine, cylinder head. Set that down. All right, 13. Guess it's these guys here. A lot of the machining done on this is really nice. I've seen, you know, quote unquote, real engines, car engines, not done this well. 3 bolts per cylinder. What is that? Isn't that like a 6-liter power stroke? I think that's the same number of bolts per cylinder that they go with. Get our head torque down. We can put our rockers together. One thing I'm noticing too is some of these have really nice machining that are basically centering the cylinder head correctly. So one thing now as well, we'll start to get compression when we turn the engine. Actually, I lied. We don't have glow plugs in it. No compression for us. You guys ever notice that pretty much if you're into cars, you end up into almost everything car adjacent? RCs, racing games, racing simulators. It's kind of hard to escape all of it. There's a lot cheaper hobbies out there. Okay, that feels nice and tight. Now we can build our rocker assemblies. So this will be your rocker shaft. And here's our actual little rockers. If we look, curved goes in. Also, just a little dab of grease on each side, I think. And this is where you will bolt your rockers down, and if there's absolutely no free play between it and your bucket, then you use the little shim. One assembled set of rockers. So next up, we're going to grease in here because we're going to put some lift buckets down. So just like a real normal engine, little lifter buckets. Those sit on top of our valve springs. What's that? Big bucket bank. There we go. All right, so I'm just testing one real quick, see if we need to do that shim or not. This is going to be different for you. It's different for everyone, it seems. All right, we do have a little bit of clearance. Now, when you watch that camshaft move, you see how it lifts and opens the valves. Seems like a pretty high lift cam if you ask me. All lubed up. All right, we're getting next to the manifold. We're getting along the way. So now we got all our rockers in. Yes, yep, so this will be intake. That goes on pointed down. And yep, we do our phenolic spacer and gasket. We need bolts 18 right there. I will say, value for money, the level of detail in this kit. Oh wait, that's my exhaust side. Oh, so it's kind of tricky and confusing. So if you're gonna look, that port is blocked off. Confused me. See on the camshaft up top, there's a little dot, and then our crank also has a little dot. So that way when it assembles, everything's in time. So when you're running a 2-stroke engine, especially a 1-cylinder, it just goes up and down and it draws air based on the cylinder's design. You don't have to really worry about timing valves. When you have a 4-stroke engine with overhead valves, the crankshaft and your cylinder head, your camshafts, have to be in time. Because the reason it's called a 4-stroke, there's 4 parts of that piston going up and down. It does it 4 times for every 1 power stroke. So starting from top dead center, your intake valve is gonna start to open and the piston's gonna come down. That's your intake stroke. Once that piston's at the bottom and starts to come up, intake valve close, it compresses. Once it reaches the top, your fuel mixture explodes, starts to go down. As it starts to come up again, intake open, or exhaust will open, push the dirty air out, exhaust starts to close, intake opens, comes back down, starts all over again. When you hear the term cam or valve overlap, that's that time that exhaust valve is still open and your intake valve starts to open before the piston's coming down. One of the reasons you'll want to do that is that exhaust energy being pushed out of the cylinder starts to help create a small vacuum. So once that intake valve opens, the inertia and the energy of that exhaust going out can help pull more air, fresh air into the cylinder. In an environmentally friendly situation, you minimize that overlap or you have variable timing to tweak it a whole lot. In an all-out power situation, you're gonna have more overlap to make sure you're maximizing that air also coming in. You're okay losing a little bit of that new air charge because you're getting so much of it. Again, doesn't matter too much. So, oh my goodness, we have to put the whole, you have to bolt every fan blade onto the fan hub. All right, I mean, every fan, I love it. That is commitment to design. You want a model engine? You want to build an engine? By golly, you're going to build all of it. That's gonna be kind of, oh no, it's not too bad. I was worried, so this little tensioner assembly, we'll show you that in just 1 second. Let me get that. Timing marks are down. It's the timing belt. So, that's gonna go like this. Tricky to get it around everything, Jiminy. I was building a tiny engine harder than building a big one. Applying tension. Locking down the tensioner. Boop. And one more here. Boom. Look at that. I think I got it right. That feels, because with it turning this way, the air is going to pull in. And that also means I got the starter gear right. This is so cool. All right, let's line up our marks. Now, one thing you'll notice, there you go, I turned it. Notice how our crank is right down, but if you look at that cam, that mark's pointed up. The reason for that is actually how the 4-stroke system works. Your crank turns twice, your cam turns half that speed because it has to operate the intake and the exhaust valve. So 2 crank revolutions, 1 cam revolution. Or maybe it's just me who's excited by it, but I'm the one putting it together. I guess kind of need to be, right? We're doing our exhaust and we're doing our starter. We can also get our exhausts on. Not much for mufflers in this setup. Also want to comment, got a couple emails from viewers, and I just want to say I really appreciate you guys. Some of you reaching out, didn't want to necessarily comment, but you're just expressing some appreciation about just being open with life and how that's helped you guys some. And tell you what, I'm experiencing life the first time, and some of it has been really hard, but knowing that me just being real and sharing the experiences as I go along has helped a lot of you, or even just a few of you, that means a lot. Hearing that, my goal is to always be as real as I can. There's enough fake ones out there. I'll trade some success for genuine, just being genuine any day of the week. Because if you have to change who you are to find success, were you really successful? And it just feels good knowing, like I said, that some of you find a little bit of comfort knowing that there's someone else out there who is going through what you've gone through or something similar. So, all right, so next we got mounting our motor. Oh, so there is 2 set screws on this motor shaft, jack shaft, starter doohickey. That is some gear reduction. I'm just trying to turn it over to be upside down so I can put the second set screw in, and it's whipping around. But yeah, the things we get to do, the timing of stuff coming out, there's some just absolutely bonkers content coming up. And it's a lot of fun. And I appreciate all of you. Like I said, appreciate the support, the criticism. Man, look at this thing coming together. Rocker cover time. Then we get to talk about what's really cool about this. Let me do one more pass of grease underneath there. I love that it's got the little initial SOHC, stands for single overhead cam, which is exactly what it is. Almost reminds me of a 4A GE out of a Toyota Corolla. Those are 4 cylinders, of course. So this is an extra option you can get for display. Here, the tank goes there. I think this is the moment where we pause it all and I look at pictures. Well, all right. Sorry for that voice crack. We got the motor mounted on. It turns out if you look at the picture, it's a little easier to figure out how it's supposed to go, and you see a bunch of wires connected to it and a little fuel tank. It's because we're getting close to trying to start this little thing. First, I want to kind of go over and explain what's a little bit different. I'm going to grab a close-up here. So as you look at this, you'll notice there's some sensors and suddenly magnets and some weirdness in what looks like spark plugs instead of glow plugs. So this is your normal run kit. Glow plugs, your starter, and your glow plug heater. But I decided, let's go full hard mode, extra difficult. They sell a gasoline conversion kit. That's right, guys. Ignore that, EV. That's right, guys. This is electronically controlled ignition with gasoline. I'm running 2-stroke mix since we're not going to have the ethanol or the methanol, the nitro meth that you get in an RC car. So in order to do that, I sanded down the stand a little bit, got the Hall effect sensor held in with some foil tape because that might need some adjustment. There's a different stand that they used to have with a variable position for that sensor. And then we've got our 2-stroke in there. Now, because we're only monitoring off the crank, this is what's called wasted spark. It fires every time the piston is up, which means this doesn't matter which cylinder. It's sparking every single time. Also, the way these work without a fuel pump, they use exhaust pressure. But there's no way to hook a hose up when your exhaust is just, straight header there. So you run crankcase pressure. I think you can also potentially tap off the head. And that uses pulses to pressurize this and push fuel into the carb. All that to say, let me set up a second angle, static angle. Let's connect power and see, can we get this thing to run? All right, so one of the first things we'll need to do is go ahead and prime it. Since I don't have it running just yet, a trick you can do. So on nitro cars where you have the exhaust, you cover the outlet and it'll force the exhaust pressure up to prime the fuel system because there's no fuel here yet. So, oh, well, now there's fuel there. It came out the carb. So, priming successful. I have no clue if I got my timing even close. Hopefully, maybe. This could go boom, and I could end up going back to nitro and glow plugs. Also, I forgot my little RC battery, so I'm using a 12 volt because all this stuff can go to 12 volt. All right, I feel like we're getting too much fuel. Oh yeah, oh no. Okay, let me remove the pressure reference because that is way too much gas. See, the way you can tell it's running rich is the way that it is. Also the fact that it is spraying liquid gasoline out. At least gasoline's only a little flammable. I'm beginning to think I got something wrong. Is my battery already dead? Come on, really? It is. That's depressing. That's a fresh off the charger Matco battery. Well, currently there's a lot of gas everywhere. In it, out it, around it. There's not really a good reference to know if it's sparking or not. Let me go get a different battery. Let things evaporate a little. Kind of wish I had some nitro. So if I had the nitro, I could just flow the plug, those back in it. See what would happen. Sounds really good. Okay. Don't do the finger choke on this engine. Otherwise, it just sucks the gas through it. I'm trying to figure out how I can tell if she's sparking or not. I mean, okay. It is getting a signal if you watch. So, I don't know if it's in the right spot or not, or if there's a mixture problem. Like, one thing I don't 100% get, there's technically no ground path for this. God, don't bite me, please. Oh, turns out it sparked good. Okay, so that's sparking good. It shouldn't matter, again, because like we determined, it's wasted spark. But let me just put that one there. We'll check this one and make sure she's sparking too. Oh yeah. What do you guys think? Are we dealing with mixtures? Are we dealing with timing? Judging by the fact we're getting a lot of fuel out the front, I'm thinking maybe mixture. I mean, it's not that big a surprise, but nitro does indeed run substantially richer than gasoline. All of you are slapping your foreheads going, duh. But I just want to make sure. So I'm going to take our mixture all the way in and do 1.5 out. Ow. Occasionally you get bit by it. Let's just go YOLO. In and 1 out. It's got some good compression. It's trying. A smart man would have done his first startup on the nitro. I mean, I guess I can just kind of move the sensor around. Not ideal, but... So this is your standard Hall effect sensor. Well, I shouldn't say standard. It's very unique. All right, guys. I'll get back with you in just a minute. I got some pondering to do. I'm going to pull these plugs, let everything dry out, because you know as well as I do, those babies are going to be well and flooded. All right, we'll just let it air. We'll be back in a minute. All right, guys, it is the next day. Turns out when you go to most of the small local hobby stores or the hobby chains and you ask for meth, they don't understand what you're asking for. But I did find it. Took 2.5 hours of driving because of an accident, but we've got our 33% top fuel, Traxxas fuel. Now, the reason we're gonna run the higher methanol percent, nitromethane. We're running that higher because it's generally easier to start. You're gonna get more power out of a leaner mixture, but we're trying to get a difficult first start going. So, small spoiler, that caught the first start. I was running through some stuff. We were testing it out, making sure it was gonna work, and hopefully it hasn't cooled off too much. Listen to it go! How cool is this? But listen to this thing go. What is it that the kids do? Or something like that. So, it runs. This is really cool. I don't have the free time at all, but I really want to put together a Nitro RC chassis to put this into. Just because I think it would be fun. It's a 4-stroke engine, meaning it's going to have more low-end grunt, that 2-stroke that you traditionally see. They scream really high RPM and make all kinds of cool noises and go really fast, but... And we built this in 2 hours on the table. Now, one thing you do need to watch for is this style engine, because it's passively greased, you do have to occasionally pop off the crankcase, pop off the valve cover, pack it with more grease, but for a on-desk, insanely affordable. I mean, when it comes to a lot of these model kits, they're very expensive. This one is nowhere near as much as you think. Some of the engines we were talking about potentially putting together for this episode with Sterling Kit are the insanely intricate 14 million parts. I still want to do one of those, but those come in at $800 and plus. The base kit, a lot of times you're under $200. $200 for a 4-stroke running engine. You option everything out, you get a little bit more with the stand and things like that, but for a cool project to do with your son, daughter, grandkids, or yourself because you're a giant adult like I am, or a giant child like I am, how awesome is it? Like I said earlier in the episode, I have always wanted to put one of these together, and it just kind of worked out the absolute perfect time. Give it a little. Sounds like we could take a little more fuel out of it now too. The timing worked out absolutely perfect to be able to get this thing thrown together right now while we're on some lighter duty work. But how cool is that? So if you want more information on the Sterling kits, they have, like I said, small steam engines, pop engines. They have these, they have display kits. I'm gonna have that down below with a link that'll help save you a little bit of money, and it helps support the channel. I hope you guys appreciated this too. It's a little bit different. We talked a little bit about the engine, showed some of the parts the best we could while we were putting it together. I'm gonna do a little bit more work to see if we can't get that gasoline conversion kit going. But for now, I'm Jared, reminding you guys to always make questionable choices. And sometimes meth is okay, but only for your RC engines.